continue our interview series with successful attorney marketers, we're really taking a close look at what's working, what's maybe not working so well, the specific steps these attorneys took to get to where they are. And these are simple steps that you too can follow to get on a similar path to growth. Okay, we're going to dive in. Today, our special guest is attorney Robert Simon. He's the co-founder of the Simon Law Group, a personal injury firm servicing clients in both California and Texas. The firm has recovered more than $250 million for their clients. Pretty impressive, right? Robert is also the co-founder of Justice HQ, which we'll talk about in a bit. Oh, and he's super entertaining and informative on Instagram, where he has more than 52,000 loyal followers. Welcome, Robert. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
So tell us a little bit about kind of who you are, your story, a little bit about your practice, the Simon Law Group, and then we'll dive right into the social media stuff.
Yeah, so my practice, the Simon Law Group, otherwise known as the Justice Team, we rebranded that, which I'll talk to you about why. But started with just me, and then my twin brother, and then my little brother, and then my mom and my dad, and then my dad's new wife, and then a whole bunch of other folks. So originally born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Left when I was 18 to do undergrad in DC, came out to law school in Pepperdine. I said, holy crap, this place is beautiful. I'm never leaving Southern California. So we said, you know what, we're just going to have a vision, start a firm, bring our whole family out with us. And so we just friggin' did it. And it's been a wild ride. So that happened. I started my firm in 2010. So now we're 12 years in, grew from just, again, me, and now we have 70-ish employees full-time.
Wow.
And then last 2020, we then started another company, law adjacent, called Justice HQ, which we can talk about later, and then how that happened.
Yeah, great. So how many attorneys do you have on board?
My firm, we have about 25 lawyers, including me. And my role now is I run the trial team. I'm in the American Board of Trial Advocates and won a bunch of trial lawyer awards. But I have a lot of other lawyers that I have a mentality of training everybody, mentoring everybody across the board early on. So I thought I was the youngest one when I got inducted to that board, and then Sevi Fisher in my office beat me because, we encourage young people. I have a guy that's trying a case right now, Robbie Munoz, that he had tried 2 cases as a law clerk when he was in law school. So just a different vision of doing things. Yeah, so 25 lawyers there, and I think at Justice HQ we're at about 200 firms that are members there. So
nice, cool. So definitely sounds like a family affair. So Robert, maybe we can begin with you telling us just how you got started on social media and maybe about the impact it's had on your law practice. Let's kind of start from the beginning there.
Yeah, so what people always, they always assume that we do a lot of advertising or digital marketing to have this type of success. I think we almost do about 100 million a year. We've been doing that repetitively for a past few. The verdicts are about 250 million collectively, but overall about 100 million a year. And people are like, well, how does that happen? Well, we don't do any digital marketing. We don't do any SEO. It's all organic. And I just have had a different mentality on, what I call grassroots or community marketing that I've done since inception. I didn't have any seed money. My dad's a UPS truck driver. My mom raised the 5 of us kids. And, and I always had this vision of, this industry across the board is built on personal relationships. So the more personally you're connected to everybody, whether through SMS, through text message, through meeting folks, or through digital or through social media, it's the best connector on the planet. You now have a unique opportunity to literally slide into anybody's DMs and connect with them, to get on their podcast, to have a one-on-one, a mentoring session. I do maybe 4 or 5 mentoring sessions for lawyers across the nation a week, where people just ask me. I say, if I have time, I can do it, right? So it's a very unique time for us. So when I started, no advertising, no marketing. It was just, hey, I went and asked my law school. I went to Pepperdine. Give me everybody's name that I graduated with the year before and above. I hired somebody like $12 an hour to go pull all their emails from the State Bar website. And I just started running an email campaign. I was like, hey, started my own firm. Let's have a drink. I pay referral fees.
Nice.
And I started my own CRM without realizing that I had a CRM flow. Right. Now we've converted to something more sophisticated, but it started with just that. And then, being very cognizant of getting buckets from, I always tell lawyers I mentor, I'm like, what do you want to do? All the shit that you don't want to do, outsource it, right? Figure out how to do what you want to do all the time. And then be very cognizant of branding with purpose. Whatever your brand is, whatever your market is, make sure you're always talking to that market. And it's somebody that can give you lots of referrals of whatever business that you're in. So I'm in personal injury, and I mean, I tell the story all the time. I used to just find out where the orthopedic surgeons and trauma calls at Cedars used to go for drinks after work. And lo and behold, I'd be there making friends.
Nice.
It started as, as simple as that. And then, we could talk more about having that community-based type stuff through leveraging your contacts to other lawyers, which I think is a very important thing to do.
Yeah. And I think, something you said that seems so basic, but I think a lot of attorneys miss is this relationship building, whether it's with fellow attorneys, whether it's with, sort of allied professionals in your area or with potential clients, right? It's all about this, providing value and really building relationship like you would any other friendship, right?
100%. So first of all, you have to be authentic. Like, people like to work with folks they like, hands down. If you are a person that is just looking for that win in that situation and just wants to move on to the next, you're not authentic, you don't think it forward, it's not really going to work for you. If that's your personality and you're not there to really genuinely help people and like being in the mix, you probably want to go do this digital marketing SEO stuff. If that's your vision, then go do that. Yeah. But if you can make so much more with spending way less, just being a good person, being in the room with them physically, and now through social media, being in them with them virtually. It's much easier now. People are much easier to set up a webinar. I mean, you can do it right now. Anybody could go and say, I'm going to set up a webinar about teaching you on XYZ. Sign up for free. Go on Zoom, do the platform, right? Very easy. Like, I don't know why people aren't doing it more. But as a lawyer, when I started my firm, I realized, and I tell this all the time when people start their own firms, I mentor a lot of folks in this, get ready to spend 50% of your time marketing yourself. Got to do it. Sometimes it's after hours, a lot of times. Yeah. Sometimes just going, answering people's questions on like online chat rooms, going to Facebook groups, don't sleep on Facebook, answering questions, being informative and helpful. And once you become that trustworthy person, once you have that trust, people are just going to start, oh, hey, can you help out my uncle that was hit by a car? It just naturally flows into it.
Right. And I feel like, often I'm sure it's a bit of a wake-up call when you do tell, your attorneys that you're going to have to spend half of your time branding and marketing yourself. Because I don't think, certainly not something that is taught in law school, right? So I just think that it comes as a shock. And then, but what can you do? So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm saying, like, lawyers just have to realize your time is not scalable. You have, no matter, like, I do everything on a contingency fee, even though I get paid not per hour, but per half. That still has a monetization value, your time. So how do you, one, scale that time? And two, how do you make more mailbox money as a lawyer? In order for you to do that, you have to have a revenue stream of people that see you as an authoritative force that's trustworthy, that's going to send you buckets of cases. And it doesn't mean you got to work on them. Like, I have a lot of flow where, like through Justice HQ, for instance, where I can funnel cases that I'm not a specialist in, employment or med mal or civil rights, and still get a percentage of the fee with an ethical fee split as long as it's disclosed to the client. So why aren't people setting up these funnels for specialization, right? Yep. But it's all about, you can get rich being a lawyer, but you can get wealthy if you learn how to maximize your time and scale it truly.
Right. So Robert, social media specifically, where did you start? What was the first platform that you were on, and kind of what did that look like?
So I was actually Tom's first friend on MySpace. That's a real hard callback joke for anybody that wasn't on that platform.
for those MySpace folks out there.
Yeah, that was his top 8 friend. No, well, yeah, I didn't do anything on MySpace back then, but I first originally was on Facebook, and I think my handle's actually at LA Injury Lawyer or something like that.
Oh, okay.
I started to brand myself early on that, and so I was hesitant actually to get on Instagram. So my wife is a very big social media influencer, Christine Bullock. She has her own, fitness empire, supplement brand, and skincare brand, right? So she does a lot of product monetization through that. So he kept saying, you got to get on. I'm like, what am I going to do with a bunch of photographs? And we had a very smart marketing director at the time, and she was actually a manager at my favorite bar where I met my wife.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Like 2007. So she started doing some of her events. She's like, Bob, like, you're the oldest person in your firm. You're 32 years old. This is 2012, 2013. She's like, you got to get on Instagram. She's like, I'm going to force you to do it. I'm going to create an account for the Simon Law Group. We're just going to do really funny shit to show how much fun you guys are having trying cases. young, cowboys and cowgirls just having fun in the courtroom and doing things differently. And then from there, it just really exploded because nobody was really doing that. Like they were just all stodgy old law firm or let's do this. We were like, I did a throwback on Instagram this week where we had a wrestling party like 2016 or 2017, where we legitimately had people dress up in spandex from the 90s, had a full on ring, and people were like suplexing one another. Like that was our Christmas party. So we did
Who
fun
doesn't
stuff.
want to see that? Yeah.
Oh, I almost broke my buddy's neck. He kept running around and saying, "What's 280 and can fly?" He's a big firefighter. So I tried to suplex him and almost killed him and myself. Anyway,
Wow.
I digress. Again,
That's another story.
consumers like to see people that are like them, right? Lawyers like to work with folks that they like being around. So be that as your brand. So that, dude, we started early on that and then started doing a podcast, the Justice Team podcast. And then full circle, Teresa Deep, who was my manager at my favorite bar where I met my wife, who was our marketing director, is also the co-founder with my twin brother and I in Justice HQ.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's a big helping people on scale, mentorship on scale, tying in with media. And then we also solve all those problems that I had as a solo when I started, right? When I started 2009 or 10 with my own firm, I was paying $1,750 a month for one small office, which I share with my brother, our big ass copier. We were scanning things every day. There were no other support systems. There's no mentorship, no collaboration board. That's it. So we were like, well, the new age, and we predicted COVID before it happened, I guess. But like I've been telling people for years, lawyers, your office should be wherever you are. I carry a MiFi around in my Surface Pro. I work in the car, do Zooms in the car. And it's like, you don't need the big trophy office space. You should be able to share resources. So we were like, what if we got everybody, all the elite lawyers, all approved by all the members? It's like Soho House meets WeWork meets YPO, and have them all on the same platform, have them all in the same shared workspaces, come and go as you like, have all the resources you need there. Mentorship, you can set up your own webinar. We have social media teams. Like on Monday, we have workshops where they can come in for free and optimize their reels, right? To have people have that competitive edge so you can actually practice law, but spend less time having to learn all the business stuff like I had to do. Those little things just help immensely for, a small firm or even for an older firm that needs to get to the new age. So that was the vision. And shit, it's been 2 years and we have our 2-year anniversary coming up at the end of March, 2022. And just crazy to think how quickly it's grown and how it's evolved. But yeah, exciting times.
Yeah, that is really, that's a very innovative kind of take, the Justice HQ approach. It's essentially, a co-working space, right, for solo practitioners, but there's this network, there's this pooled resources. And I hear from solo practitioners all the time that, pressing client matters take, all of their time. They don't have time for anything else, even for simple networking or for dedicating time to marketing, so I think that's really, really smart. We'll make sure at the end of the session to tell everyone how they can learn more about that. But Robert, tell us a little bit. So obviously social media is a big part of what you're doing now and kind of your story, but how long did it take basically before you started generating leads from social media? And do you know maybe what % of your clients now come from your social marketing?
Yeah. We probably have analytics that'll tell you that stuff, but I'll just tell you that I most of my cases come from social media. And it was like that, from we had an online presence from first week, Jump Street. And it wasn't so much, again, we've been very targeted in who our audience was because it was young lawyers, because those are the lawyers that didn't do trials because that's what we wanted to do, or lawyers who are not in personal injury that look to us as a resource to refer those cases, or for younger lawyers to want to work together. Because that's how I learned. I used to partner with big law firms that my mentors now that I wanted to work with to learn from them. So we do it now. It's like, hey, we'll carry the cost in your case. We'll do it together. Let's work together. So that's always been the mantra. So when we very first started doing just Instagram, we used to get a ton of messages and DMs. Can you help me on this case? Can you help me on this case? Right. And that's kind of how it started. So now, I learn every day, and we make it easier now for either a consumer, mostly lawyers are the ones that reach out to like fill out a form. Here's our AI chatbot. This is where it goes from there, just so we can scale more of the interest level and scale more of the, communication between consumer and or lawyers referring cases to us. But you got to have that call to action on your social media. I help a ton of lawyers with branding, like when they start their firms. I had 3 phone calls this week where I help people, here's what you should do. And look, guys and gals, don't name your firm, your name and all the names of your partners. It's hard to search for it. It's an email that's hard to remember, right? Sales 101, got to see it 5 times. You got to see it fast. You got to recognize, you got to know it. So when I said we would come back to this, we went from the Simon Law Group to Justice Team. Trademarked it. So if you go to justice.team, it goes to us, Robert at Justice Team, justiceteam.com, much easier for somebody to remember. And I will bet you that just because we are easier to remember, we get a lot more cases and leads than somebody else that has 3 initials as their law firm name, that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's super smart.
Yeah, it's again something you can sell later if you wanted to. You know, lawyers, you got to think about, you have a brand, you have a presence, you have goodwill. Make sure you're saving all that stuff so you're not, you know, killing yourself into your 70s or 80s as a lawyer.
Right. So you're primarily talking to and targeting other lawyers on social media as opposed to trying to speak directly to prospective clients, right?
Correct. And my firm, we'd like to do litigation and trial. I don't need to do all the consumer, you know, off the street cases. Like I'll refer a lot of those out to other members at Justice HQ that are very, very good at pre-litigation, managing the client. And then we get usually like a right of first refusal on the litigation or trial. We work out stuff like that. Again, I always tell lawyers, if you want to be competitive, profitable, and have a quality of life, specialize in something and let everybody know what you specialize in, and then outsource the rest of that stuff. It's pretty easy once you get a mentor to show you how to do it.
That's smart. And do you find that the leads that you're generating through social media, in other words, these referrals that are coming through, are higher quality or lower quality than, you know, the leads coming from elsewhere, other marketing sources? Yeah.
So they are higher quality, they're high quality. Again, when somebody's coming to me, another lawyer, that's our target, right? They already have a case. A1, they have a case, right? 2, they know what my specialty is.
Right.
So if there is, we have a damages threshold, like there's only a certain level of cases that I'll particularly try or a firm will litigate. So they already know coming into it, these are pre-screened. Somebody else already signed up the case usually. Right. It's the point where they think the case is too big or complicated or too costly, or they want to be able to have a bigger market share with showing how big a verdict is. So it already comes like that. So I was on the phone with a very prominent lawyer that needed help with branding before this call. And I said this to him. I said, you know, you should be teaching all of these lawyers how to fish and tell them what kind of tuna you like.
Nice.
Right? So they know how to bring you, they know which ones I like. I do almost all spine injury cases. People know that.
Yeah.
They think of that, they bring it to me, right? TBI, brain injury cases, maybe it goes somewhere else. So yeah, I'm a big believer in people specializing in different things. And it's the best way to actually have a quality life. So.
And do you think, I mean, obviously you've found that, you know, using social media as a networking tool to be far more effective than trying to cast a wide net looking for prospective clients, right? Because I know that's the approach of many attorneys, right? Online is let's answer some common questions I get from prospects. Let's, you know, try to provide value. And then when, you know, my followers or one of their friends or family need an attorney, I'm top of mind, I'm trusted. So maybe you can talk a little bit about those varying approaches.
So 2 different things. One, if you're doing consumer direct, remember it's more of a shotgun marketing approach where you'll have to sift through a lot more leads. You might have to have like a lead team and things like that to go through all these things. And again, like if you don't have to pay referral fees if you go that way, right? I mean, you're doing direct marketing, it's going to cost you a lot more, maybe lead acquisition as you go, but every once in a while you might get a really big case, right? That has value to it, but you're going to have to be sifting through a lot more stuff, taking a lot more phone calls, maybe have a bigger team to do those things.
Right.
And I do think if you want to go direct to consumer and do the educational route, I think TikTok is a very good value point. But don't sleep on Facebook. Facebook, by the way, still has the highest margin. You have a little bit of an older demographic. Get into chat rooms in there and start answering people's questions. But if you go to TikTok and do informational type stuff, you will have a younger demographic, but they will be reaching out to you. You'll be sifting through a lot of stuff. I know a lot of younger lawyers that started their firm that have gone viral on TikTok, and they're just getting cases and referring them out for a percentage. And it's very smart. They act as the general counsel for that client. And I've worked with a few lawyers that got those big numbers on TikTok. So be cognizant though of what you're trying to market for. You know, if you're going direct to consumer, pick a niche. Why not be the construction worker injury lawyer. Well, I mean, then you're picking a demographic, you know who to do an ad spend if you ever want to do that on social media. You know how to target it better. You have the brand targeted, and then pick the cases that either you have good knowledge in or that you think will be the most profitable and enjoyable for you.
Yeah, that's smart. You're able to speak directly to that target, and it's a good way to sort of desell almost as well, right? You're kind of weeding out, screening out those cases that you either don't want to work on or that you just can't help for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Robert, I love the sort of nice mix of informative, lighthearted videos that you post. It seems like you found just sort of a natural balance between the educational, the family stuff, the fun videos. Do you have kind of guidelines for yourself when it comes to balancing the type of content you create, or is it, yeah?
I don't. And now, I have the luxury now of having, so Teresa Deep, we co-founded Justice HQ with, she also founded a company called Outlier Creative Agency. And anytime I have anything highly produced, it's with them. I have a social media team. I talk to them daily and our media team to make sure we get things right, to make sure we have funny videos when we have the highly produced stuff. A lot of times though, it's just me doing stuff with my iPhone that I think is funny or informative or educational and just throw it up there or repost something. I'm a big believer of showing everybody how you can balance life. I'm a very altruistic person. I think that the more times we're able to spend with our family and children, the whole society as a whole will be better. So I think if we teach lawyers a new way to practice where they can be home 2 or 3 days a week, work from home, balance, be with the family, go into an office in a flex space for 2 days a week to get that collaboration mentorship type deal. Now we do it virtually too. We have virtual chat rooms and things like we have trial chats, bad faith chats, and all the stuff that we're doing, but you still need that interpersonal thing every once in a while, but come when you need to have it, in my opinion. But if you have that quality of life, if people are less on the road, they concentrate more on their family, can be more profitable because their overhead will be lower, but also more profitable in like just fucking being happy, or just, can I say the F word on this? Whatever, I did. Just being happy, right? Just being happy. So
Yeah. No, I certainly love that approach. And, I always get questions from attorneys, I'm so busy. I don't have time. How do I really take advantage of social media to grow my firm if I don't have this time? So let's get into the details a little bit. I know now you obviously have kind of a team helping you, but tell us, do you batch record videos? Do you chunk out your time? How many people do you have helping you? Maybe give us some insight into the process a little bit.
So how many people do I have helping me with like the media stuff?
With just essentially videos and social media. Yeah.
I mean, realistically, a lot of people could do it yourself. Like some of the best lawyers I know do it on TikTok. They just use Canva or just go directly into the app on Instagram. And I do too. It's pretty easy to do it, but it's a time thing. Like, do you reach the point where, like, I have the luxury of, starting my own firm 10 years ago, and I get to pick which trials I do, how things that I do, where I spend my time. If you don't have that luxury, get somebody that's in college to handle your social media for you. That's good, because it's not that complicated. You just need somebody to be able to do it. And you got to have meetings and stuff like that. Like right now, like I have an entire team that, I'm the original client of this company because they are an out branch of what we did with Simon Law Group back in the day. But we do fun stuff. Like we just did a Bourbon of Proof. Like I have this brand called Bourbon of Proof, where I interview lawyers one-on-one. We drink whiskey the whole time and just talk about how they succeeded in law and life. And we just did an event in Louisville where we had like 200 lawyers come out there to do stuff on the trail, to have education, make it more interpersonal and fun, and show lawyers how to make more of that mailbox money. But like my team now is pretty big. I probably have like 10 people at our media team that are devoted just to me and my firm that I'm on like speed Slack with, constantly messaging,
right,
doing funny shit.
How much of your personal time would you say per week is dedicated to video creation and social media?
Social media in general, 20%.
Okay.
Maybe, it's sometimes higher, sometimes lower, but that probably is about right. Yeah. But again, it's intentional. Like I get a lot of business from it, a lot of notoriety, and help a lot of folks.
Right.
And I've noticed, like when I'm in trials, like I've been in some trials that are 6 to 8 weeks, and even when I'm in those trials, I'm still doing content.
Wow.
Even when we're on lunch break, we're doing like explaining what had just happened, because people want to hear that. They want to hear what's going on in the trenches.
Yep.
But like when I get into trial, I'm like so uber prepared. Like it's it's fun by the time I get to trial. Let's put it that way.
Nice, nice. So, I mean, you're a funny guy. You're a very entertaining guy. Not all attorneys are. How do
Mhm.
you recommend they sort of find their voice, provide that content?
Okay, so be original, but you don't have to be the person that's the spokesperson for your brand or your vocal point. Like, I know one guy that did, I think it's hilarious and awesome, but he does everything. It looks like a Farmville video, and that's his brand, where he's just like doing stuff with like little type cartoons. But you could like look at these meme lawyer accounts. I know some of the people that run them, they're super funny,
Yeah.
and they're just creating memes. They're never in it, but they get a ton of traffic, story views that are going through there, and now they're starting to monetize those. I've seen some people set up their like their stores, their law firm stores,
Mm,
through their Instagram handles, because they've got such a big just meme account, and they're funny on paper. Like they probably, like, I know that some of these folks aren't like, they can't get up and speak and do things,
right.
but they're funny as hell on paper, right? So again, just figure that out and do shit that you think is funny. I mean, that's just what I do. So whatever.
Yeah. And I love going back to what you said earlier too, being authentic, right? Being genuine, you're finding who you are on social media. Doesn't mean you have to, imitate or try and be someone that you're not, right? I think if you're providing valuable content, interesting stuff, certainly you got to kind of stay true to yourself, right?
100%, 100%.
Maybe you
People
can.
know when it's fake. They
Right,
know.
exactly. Yeah, right. And that you will instantly find out if,
And don't be too polished. Like sometimes people come off
yeah,
and you can tell it's so like
right,
structured and polished. It just comes off as impersonable,
right,
right?
right.
That's not what you want. You, that will become the old white lawyer behind the, or in front of the law books photo and their profile photo, right?
Yeah,
The
the
old,
stock
people
image.
go to your Instagram like, look at this dinosaur. They just have
Yeah,
a bunch of like, clip art and like, right?
yeah, yeah. The gavel, right? The gavel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
classic scales of justice, classic.
Right. Yeah. So I'm always interested. Tell us about one of your top performing videos of all time, or maybe
Oh my
a
God.
couple of them. Where did the inspiration come from, or were you surprised by a video that performed particularly well? Can you think of anything?
I mean, some of the highest performing videos I have are the ones that are with my kids.
Mm,
Um, yeah, I mean, that's probably the highest, the ones that I get the most views on, and the ones that go out the most are those, and the most feedback. And also like when anytime there's a little bit of controversial stuff, like whenever Tom Girardi, a well-known lawyer out here, and I had to sue him when I was a baby lawyer, and he wrote me a letter that said like, I posted it and like it says something to the effect of, you have until like Monday to dismiss this case or you'll never work again in this town. Like some crazy shit like that. That was my highest viewed lawyer. But I did that letter he sent me. He since got disbarred because he was stealing for years and like hundreds of millions of dollars. But anyway, so I took that letter and I did something what I thought was funny, is then I then had that one clip of Matt Damon from what's that Boston movie? Where he says, how do you like them apples? Right.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that was my highest viewed by. I mean, that one was
Right.
like, I could see how many shares, the insight and all that stuff. And, that one got the most. So yeah, a little bit of controversy. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah. So Robert, there are attorneys listening to this session who are inspired by what you and other lawyers have done on social media. What's kind of your top bit of advice for those lawyers who want to do what you're doing essentially?
So one, have a plan, have an audience, have a plan of attack, but then you got to be consistent with it. If you're going to be in social media, you have to realize that the more you're more visible on how active you're using their apps, whatever platform you're on. So like if you're posting more on Instagram or commenting more on Instagram's, people are doing more DMs to people, you're going to show up higher in people's feeds. When they go to search feed, you'll see it more because it's like the reward from Instagram, like, oh, thank you for being on our app so long. We're going to make it more visible for people. I think that's the number one thing, is you have to realize you're consistent with it and have a real plan, and then have a brand identity, have a handle. You can create a new handle, something that's easier to remember. Like I know right now, like there's one girl started a firm. She called herself the breakup lawyer. She does family law. Genius. Every time I think of it, go right to her.
Yeah.
There's one girl's like New Jersey trial lawyer. Anytime I get a case in New Jersey, it goes right to her because I remember it in my head. And a lot of people think that way. So have something easy to remember. Like mine's Planet Fun Bob. Like that's been my nickname since I was a little kid. And I think because I'm always laughing and having a good time. Hopefully it's easy to remember, but Justice Team certainly is easy to remember.
Mm-hmm.
So these types of things, it just, again, you're in the business, lawyers, you're listening, you are in the business of sales. don't have to think of it otherwise. It doesn't matter if you're selling your story, your case to 12 jurors, or you're selling yourself to that client that walks in the door, or that person that's watching your video. So you have to know who you're selling to, what they like, and then make yourself relatable to it.
I love that. Super smart, super smart. So before we wrap up, tell us a little bit more about Justice HQ. If listeners are interested in learning more, where can they find out more?
So you can just go to justicehq.com is a good place to start. You can literally slide into my DMs if you like. It's very, I mean, we made it so easy for lawyers to compete now, whether you're a small firm, mid-sized firm, we have a few big firms. So the way the memberships work is it's as low as like $700 a month, but some people like my firm pay upwards of like $20,000 a month, but we have full access, all these things. So a lot of people now are using Justice HQ for their full-time office-based solution because they get 24/7 use of all of our spaces. Media, we have people help with their media, social media, speaking engagements, webinars, mentorship. We have all like very experienced lawyers across the board in every level that'll be there accessible to you. People can do their own webinars. Like we have one that's going on right now. We have a very, very strong female component contingent here. So there's a lot of empowerment that they're doing. They have their own locked channels on our messaging platforms. So you have virtual access right away. So like I could see right now, because I could see our chat board for there's a bunch of trials going on that our members are in, and they're asking real-time questions to the membership. And these are people that you would not, it's like a huge law firm where people are chipping in and just helping. Hey, the judge ruled here, what should I say? Or anybody have this case site? And people are literally dropping in documents because we have appellate lawyers and just telling what to say or do in real time.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's how it makes it
valuable.
Really, it is invaluable. Yeah. And these are the things that I wish, I try to create this exclusive expert lawyer club that I would have signed on with in a heartbeat when I started my firm. And it would have accelerated it greatly because I would not have spent time guessing what to do business-wise, how to try a case, like what to do in litigation, and it'd have been way more cost efficient for me. So yeah, I'm super excited about it. And there's a reason why everybody wants us to come into their city like tomorrow. And we're like, wait, we gotta, with the quality control communities A1, like every member has to approve who comes in. It takes a slower scale, but again, it's something I'm excited and proud about. It's like a legacy project for me. So
very cool. Very cool. So you have 3 locations now, is that correct, in Southern California?
Yeah, we have downtown Los Angeles, Orange County. Our South Bay office should be up in the next month in Torrance. That one's gonna have like a mock courtroom wired with media. So people, you can do focus groups. Focus groups, we can stream it. You can do presentations. You can do mock trials, we can teach. So that's going to be fantastic. And then what we're going to announce soon by the time this opens, but or records, airs, whatever. San Diego should be up by July-ish. Yeah, which should be up by, we have Law de Gras coming up July 14 through 17 in San Diego. So it should pair nicely with that. But yeah, and then we're, hoping to be in every Northern California is the next logical step. We have a lot of members up there. So hoping to be in San Francisco soon as well.
Awesome.
So, yeah, and then Mars by 2020.
Very cool. Very cool. The growth expansion plan to Mars. I love it. Well, Robert, thank you so much for your candor today, sharing your advice experience. It really is invaluable. You were wonderful. And if you don't already, be sure to follow Robert on Instagram. As he said, he's at Planet Fun Bob. You will not be disappointed and you'll learn a ton. So thanks again. Thanks again. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to. Bye.